Good day. I'd like to take you back in time to the early 19th century, to a time where sounds and musical instruments and the sounds that they created were so different than what you might hear today. We're going to perform for you a number of tunes, 3 tunes in particular, that come from period sources of the early 19th century. One particular, the Massachusetts Collection of Martial Music, and the other, a period drum beating book as well, the Rumrell & Holton Instructor for the bass and snare and fife, a martial music tutors that for the military explained the duty of the day and the requirements of communication for armies. The instruments that we're going to perform on today are very unique in the fact that they are original to the time frame. Both drums, the snare and the bass drum, were made by the same manufacturer, a Captain Stephen Emory from Rindge, New Hampshire. Stephen Emory was a nest box maker by tradition and by trade, a tradition that he learned from his father, and a nest box being a small round box commonly referred to today as cheese boxes or pantry boxes. But in the 18th century, they referred to them as nest boxes, and they were a utilitarian type of box. And these manufacturing plants throughout New England made these round cylindrical boxes for sale for storage of items and precious holdings. The factory, of course, in Rindge, New Hampshire, that made these boxes was owned by a Revolutionary War veteran and the son of a Revolutionary War veteran who was a captain in the local militia. His name was Stephen Emory, Captain Stephen Emory again, and these are both the products of his environment. This drum here dates as close as we can get to the 1790s in its construction, and this one a little bit later with some slightly distinguishing marks about its use over time. The bass, of course, was a primary instrument for militia companies because it was a slow cadence and a beating that was easy to march to. It could be heard over great distances, and it again carried and was considered a very principal portion of the militia military exercises. The technique that we use, derived from Rumrell & Holton, consists of a leather-covered beater. It's wool-wrapped. It's supposed to be 6 inches in length and covered with a soft leather in the right hand, and a common drumstick in the left hand. The technique written and published in a style that executes probably the only known published material for instruction on playing the bass drum. The snare, of course, or the tenor drum as it was also commonly referred to, beatings were published throughout early New England. Several manuscripts and several publications were available for learning the beatings. You heard beatings that were taken from the Massachusetts Collection of Martial Music, published in 1826, and you heard beatings that came from the Rumrell & Holton book of 1814. When you look at the paintings that are on these drums, they're very similar, and a sunburst design of a Federal period eagle that is emblazoned with a shield and a clutch of holly and sword, and all of the meanings of that national emblem that we had of the Federalist late 1790s, early 1800s. The one drum marked Massachusetts militia, of course, was used by the Massachusetts militia, and it's of a slightly later addition. Underneath this drum, there was a painting for the Winchendon militia, and this was most likely used by the town of Winchendon and later put into the militia adjutant general's quartermaster reports and used as a state militia drum, having, again, the painting on the bottom. This particular drum here, when they came as relics, had written on the inside of it that it was at the first Battle of Bull Run during the Civil War. So these drums had a tremendous amount of history. This drum was located in Worcester, Massachusetts, and it was used in a fife and drum corps entitled the Worcester Continentals. It was given to my father and has been a family heirloom over the years. And this drum, of course, was a drum that came up for auction and was introduced to our possession because the two drums had to be together. Now, they were in relic condition. We did make some modifications, meaning we added new heads and new ropes and reconstructed the ears exactly as they were on the original relic condition. The ears are tied in what they call, and these are the ears, they're tied in what they call a blood knot, which was a very common knot to use during that particular time, and often in nautical and leather, and a lot of makers, harness makers, tied this knot very frequently, and it was easy to repair in the field. So these ears are easily removable, tied and untied. You see very few of them in relic condition today. They are surviving examples, and again, these drums now will return to their relic states with their original heads put back on them and their original ropes and relic ears. Having musical instruments in a relic condition really doesn't complete the story, so we thought that it was important that we do so. And in doing so, we performed these three numbers in as exact and as concise as we could to the author's intent of the publications of the period. And we captured that sound of what these instruments of over 200 years old actually sounded like. It's our pleasure to do that. The three performers tonight are myself, Peter Emmerich, David Emmerich, and Paul Benoit. We are from Uxbridge, Massachusetts, and we perform regularly with the Uxbridge Grenadiers, a recreation of an 1820s militia company in Massachusetts. And we also perform for museums and numerous Park Service, National Park Service events, and throughout New England. We thank you very much for listening, and we hope you enjoy.